Okay, let's get started working with the selection tools. All right, so first I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab the rectangular marquee tool. That tool will allow me to draw rectangles and squares. So I can draw a rectangle this way, I can draw a rectangle that way, I can draw one this way, I can draw one that way. And if I hold down the shift key, I can draw a perfect square. All right, so here's something else that's kind of neat is as I'm actually, and I'll show you this in my demonstration here, but if I hold down the space bar while I'm still creating this guy here, if I hold down the space bar, I can reposition this anywhere in my document and continue to work with it and all that kind of fun stuff. Command D will deselect. Okay, now across the top here, I just want to point out a few things that we have some buttons up here. And one button, this one here, if I'm not mistaken, will allow you to add to a current selection. The next one here looks like we're missing a little piece. All right, that allows us to subtract from our current selection. And this guy over here will allow us to take the intersect of the two selections, the one that's current and the one that you're drawing. You'll get the intersect of those two guys. All right. Now, the next thing over here is the feather value. And what I do is I leave this at either 0 or a very, 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 very small amount, because this is something that's known as a sticky value, which means that it stays there until you go and physically change it. That being said, a lot of times I'll just leave this one at 0 because I won't know what value I want to apply until after I've actually created the selection. And after I've created the selection, I have a very good idea of how much I want to feather my selection. Most selections do need to be feathered, all right, but how much is dependent on the image and the object you're trying to isolate and the resolution and all this other fun stuff. All right. So next over here is a checkbox for anti-alias, but that's not available to us with a rectangular marquee tool because it's just straight lines. And so when you're drawing with straight lines, you don't need. The anti-aliasing is a little bit of a softening transition at the edges of what you're selecting versus what you're not selecting, and it's not necessary with straight lines. All right. Next over here we have something called style, and that would be normal, and this is normal. It just allows us to draw anything normally. Okay. Now, the other thing that's really neat about this is we have something called a fixed ratio and fixed size, and I use the fixed size all the time. We'll get into that a little bit later on. All right, so anyways, here we go. I'm going to start drawing with this. Now, here we go. I'm drawing that, and you know that I just said that we can add to our current selection. Well, when my cursor's outside of my active, while I still have a marquee or selection drawing tool, I'm getting this little crosshair. And then if I put my cursor inside, I get a little white arrow with a marquee in the bottom right-hand corner, which basically means that I can just move my marching ants anywhere in my document. All right. The idea here is that the marching ants are hovering above all of the pixels in your image. Okay. All right. So anyways, I can move things around just like that. Now, the thing you have to be careful about is if you actually come over here and grab the move tool, notice that when I'm outside the selection, my move tool is just a black arrowhead with a directional symbol. As soon as I go inside, all right, now I have the black arrowhead and a pair of scissors, which basically means that if I use the move tool on an active selection, I'll actually cut out that piece. And it doesn't make any sense right now with my white background and all that kind of stuff. You'll see it later on with an actual image, but it actually cuts out. So you have to be very, very careful which tools you're using when we're working in here. Now, if I wanted to add something to this selection here, I'd have to hold down the shift key, and now you can see that I get the crosshair with the plus sign. That means I can add. So I can come in here and do something like this, and then I can come over here and do something like that. And then I can come over here and add a little bit more and add a little bit more. And then you can see over here I've got not a straight line, and I really would like to have a straight line there, and I want both of these little things here to be at the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll subtract. All right, so if I hold down the Option or Alt key, I can now starting outside of my active selection, just click, hold, and drag, and there we go. I've chopped that off very nicely, and I've chopped that off very nicely, and things are evened up. All right. Now, while I'm still in the process of subtracting, all right, or talking about subtracting, what if I wanted to subtract another window in here? Because here's one window. What if I wanted to subtract another window in here? Well, all I have to do is hold down the, you got it, Option or Alt, and I can actually go ahead and do that. All right, so now if I were to fill this, you'll see that this area here will get filled, and oh, look at that, I'm moving it all over the place. All right, that will get filled, and the window areas here and here will show through the background color. I'm just going to come over here and create a brand new layer just so I'll fill on, all right, the brand new layer. So I just did the keyboard shortcut to fill. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. All I want to be able to do is show you that we can actually fill Okay, so now I'm going to undo that. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to grab the elliptical marquee tool. All right, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key, and I'm going to draw an elliptical shape, and I can cut that out of there as well. And then if I was to do the fill, all right, you'll see that I filled in this area, holding out that area, and all that fun stuff. Isn't this great? I think you're going to love this. All right, let me get rid of that layer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create another new layer, and I'm just going to run through something. Well, let's go through this stuff here. I'm going to grab the lasso tool. We all know what the lasso tool does. It allows you to make a selection based on freehand drawing, if you will. All right, deselect that. I'm going to come over and show you how the polygon or polygonal lasso tool works. And what you have to do is you have to click once to set it down as a point, and then you click and drag to create these straight lines and angles, and come in here. Once we come, notice that once I get this to my starting point, you're going to see that little circle show up. Now it's disappeared. Now it shows. Disappears, shows. All right, what that means is I can actually click. Even if it doesn't look like I'm touching the ends, I can click there and they will join. And it just basically means that I've come full circle with that. All right? Okay. So I'm going to deselect that, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just talk about the magnetic lasso tool. Magnetic lasso tool will snap to contrasting edges. Obviously, I don't have any here, so I can't use it. We have the quick selection of magic wand. Can't really use them here either, but what I can do is just quickly introduce to you the magic wand tool. All right, in order to do that, I'm going to go and create a gradient on my document. So I already have black to white, so I'm just going to draw a gradient there, and then I'm going to come back and grab the magic wand tool. I hope that's the magic wand tool. And the sample size is set to 3 by 3. We can go point sample, all this stuff. It's kind of new for this version, if I'm not mistaken. We also have a tolerance value. The default should be 32. And then we have some of this other stuff over here. Anyways, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to click with this. And you can see that with the tolerance value of 32, I get something this wide. And you're saying, but John, you just clicked right in there. How come it went and got all that kind of stuff? It's because it's actually looking at the, well, some people say color values, other people say brightness values. I'm just going to say it looks at both of them. All right? I don't want to get in a fight here. And basically I clicked here. So now it looked at the value of the pixel I clicked on, and then it determined that it was going to go 32 brightness values lighter and 32 brightness values darker than what I currently had clicked on. So if I clicked on a brightness value of, let's say, 100, then it did a search range from 68 to 132. Does that kind of make sense? I hope so. All right, I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff and go back to my transparent layer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and grab my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to see if I can create something it's just kind of interesting. So we're going to start off with this here, and then I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to add, let's see, come in here and add that, that, and oh, look at that, the big F. Ah, F something, never mind. Okay. Now, I have to straighten that kind of stuff out, so I'm just going to come in here. Whoa! And I'm going to see if I can do that, and then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to take that away. Wrong key. See, even I get mixed up sometimes. So there we go. We have the letter E. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to add to this selection, but I'm not going to add a selection that's touching this one. I'm just going to come over here and add a selection like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the middle portion of this, so we end up with that. Now I'm not exactly fond of that, so I'm going to have to come in and get rid of that and say, okay, there we go. So now that I have that going on, I'm going to add another selection. This one is going to be something like this. And then I'm going to come over here and grab the polygon lasso tool, and I'm going to start to subtract some stuff out of here. So I'm just going to click on the outside, and I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to click here, I'm going to click up here and do that. So now I've taken that away, and now I want to take away some stuff down here. So I'm going to click here, click, and come in and do something like this, come across here, up here, and then come down like this and do that. So now I have E equals M. Can you see where I'm going with this? All right, so now I have this thing here, all right, the elliptical tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key so I can actually draw a perfect circle while I do this, and then get this, if I hold down the space bar, I can move this anywhere I want. So I'm just going to bring it up to about here, and as I drag down, it's going to go that way, and then I think I'm going to let go. There you go. Now if I come back over here and grab the polygon lasso tool, I think what I can do, let's see now. I need to, first of all, I need to go back to my elliptical tool, and I have to subtract. So I'm going to draw this guy. I'm going to hold down the spacebar again so I can reposition this as I continue to draw it. And that looks like it'll be a nice little center for my donut. Good. Then I come back over to the polygon lasso tool. I'm going to hold down the Option key. I'm going to come in on an angle like this and come out like that, and just come up here and close that off. So E equals MC. Yeah, you got it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to draw this guy here. There we go. MC squared. Duh. Okay, so now what I have to do is come over here and figure out how to draw the letter D. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw something that kind of looks like this, and then I'm going to come over here and grab this, and I'm going to subtract that from there, and that's kind of working. And then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to subtract a centerpiece out of here. Just reposition it a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but you're getting the idea. And then I'm going to come back over here and grab this guy, and then I need to subtract or add. Not 100% sure, so let's see if this is going to do what I want. Perfect. All right. E equals MC squared. Duh. All right, and then I just have to put a little elliptical thing up there so I can come in and do that, or I can actually just come over here and draw it freehand and just come in and just do something like this and then something like that, and there we go. We have E equals MC squared. All right, what do you think of that? All right, so that's not so great, and some of this other stuff is, but you get the idea. We can actually use these different tools to create magic. Okay, great. We'll see you in the next movie.